Keep on drinking till I comatose, or I pass out on the floor. You got me staring out the window, 8 hours late and you're a no-show. Where I'm from, that's called a no-go. I guess I should have known. Sleeping with one eye open, hoping to make it whole. You're always on my mind, but right here, right now, I'm better without you. I've done this for some time, but right now I know that I'm better on my own. I've done this for some time. Used to lay in bed and talk the night away. Today it feels like you have nothing left to say. I pack my bags and collect my things. Take what you want, but you can't have me. I'm keeping my heart under lock and key wherever I may roam. Sleeping with one eye open, hoping to make it whole. You're always on my mind, but right here, right now, I'm better without you. I've done this for some time, but right now I know that I'm better on my own. You and me are heading for a disaster, but I cannot ignore. I'm moving forward, you're moving backwards. I can't take anymore. So come on, you're always on my mind, but right here, right now, I'm better without you. You're always on my mind, but right here, right now, I'm better without you. I've done this for some time, but right now I know that I'm better on my own. Right here, right now, that I'm better on my own. Right here, right now, that I'm better on my own.
WTF Nation Radio.
Is in the house.
And welcome, WTF Nation. It is Tuesday, 26th December, the day after Christmas. Here we are for another Tied Up Tuesday. Myself, Gray Cloud. My co-host, Minx, is out saving the world yet again with her medical things. So tonight I am joined by the one and only Mike Golf.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, Mike.
I appreciate it. Tuesday's a little far off from Thursday, but I'm happy to be here to cover for Minx, who's out saving the world.
Yeah, she does a lot of good things, and it's nice to have an additional host. Winging it by herself is doable, but the banter is a lot easier when there's somebody else.
That's true. I've been guilty of leaving Ice hanging on Sorden's time a couple of times by himself. Ice, if you're listening, my deepest apologies. I try not to let it happen, but I make up for it by covering for Minx.
and we are all very appreciative of that tonight.
Yes, sir.
So tell me a little bit about your weekend. Obviously, it was Christmas, so was there big stuff that happened?
Not much. So my Christmases have calmed down quite a bit. My kids are all grown, so the people in my household that get the most spoilage are the cats and the dogs. So
I don't think you're joking about this.
No, I'm not. It's Christmas from now on is if the kids aren't here, it's really calm. It's sitting on the couch. It's the adult version of no kidding, Netflix and chill. There's no innuendo there. It's just turn on Netflix, sit on the couch, and vegetate.
Oh man, I can't complain about that.
Well,
Cannot complain about that.
Not at all.
So mine was a little hectic. I traveled to back home to Colorado for the weekend,
Nice.
and it got a little hectic, and it got a little cold. I think let's see here. I think the coldest it got out there was -5 where I was. Got some snow, saw some massive elk. Where I was we were coming down to go visit some other family, and there were two bulls on the side of the road, both about 10 points apiece. And then in the middle, just walking down the middle of the road, because that's what they do there, is I must have been 20 to 30 head of elk, with an additional two bulls just walking through.
Did you at least get a hunting license while you were there?
No, because hunting season is over in Colorado, last I checked. But man, it would have been great pickings from the road because they're calm in that area. They don't really do anything. They're used to all the traffic and the people. And man, you could have just, I could have had elk for days. We'll leave it at that.
I haven't had a chance to go deer hunting this year because my job interferes with my hunting.
That happens.
So, but the upside of that is after Friday, I'm going to start next weekend unemployed.
Uh-oh.
And by unemployed, I mean just, retired from the army, so I've got income. But I'm going out to a buddy's house, and deer season is going to be over, but squirrel season is still going strong until March.
How long is squirrel season? I really want to know this.
How long is squirrel season? It's like September to February or March, something ridiculous.
Oh my God.
So, and in the state of Alabama, you can hunt gray squirrels and Alabama fox squirrels. If you've never seen a fox squirrel, holy crap, those things are like the size of small cats. And the bag limit is 8 a day.
What? 8 a day, and there's no overall bag limit.
There's no overall bag limit. You could do the squirrel apocalypse every day if you wanted to.
It sounds like great snacks for Spanky. She'd have squirrel jerky for days, apparently.
Spanky, one day I'm going to get a bunch of squirrels. I'm going to grind up the meat. And I'm going to make Spanky some squirrel burgers that are to die for.
I mean, I'll eat them. I'll try anything once.
So everybody
Wow.
has this aversion to eating squirrels because they're rodents. Think about this for a second. They're not like rats. They don't eat trash. They eat nuts. They eat fruits. They eat insects. They're one of the healthiest eating rodents that there are. So you think about that.
A healthy eating rodents.
They're
what?
the chicken of the trees.
the chicken of the trees. Oh my God. But it probably takes a lot more squirrel to make a burger, I would guess.
It does take a lot of work unless you get fox squirrels, and then it takes 6 instead of 16.
Holy crap! Wow. Yeah. So again, it's post Christmas. Rumor is that Valentine's Day stuff should be on the shelves in about 48 hours.
Oh no. I can tell you from personal experience, I started putting Valentine's stuff on the shelves last week.
Are you serious?
Dead serious.
Oh my God.
Dollar General last week.
So here's my thing is, so it's about, and I've got a couple buddies who I know will have swayed me this way a little bit, but Valentine's Day, it's a great holiday. It's romantic, to use the air quotes there. But all it is a money grab by Hallmark.
Yeah, it's a Hallmark holiday.
I truly believe that because we're Christmas and Thanksgiving and a lot of the other holidays we have, they serve a purpose. They serve a purpose for a day off, but they all have something behind them. Valentine's Day is let's grab some more money.
Yes.
And it's You know, it makes
Val-
you feel good. You do some nice
Valentine's
things.
Day, you put it in the same category as Mother's Day. It's a Hallmark greeting card holiday.
Yeah. What say you, nation? What is your take on Valentine's Day? Because that's the next one that's coming up, and that's when all the more candy comes out. It's like from Thanksgiving to Valentine's Day, it's nothing but freaking candy.
Oh my God, dude! Once October hit,
What? So
I swear to God, I've got diabetes just handling the candy I was putting on the shelves.
actually, let's go Halloween to Easter. Yeah, because Easter's like in April, March, April. So what? It's 6 months of candy, basically.
Oh, uh. And then you bring up Easter. Oh my God, you've got two types of people when it comes to Easter: those that love Peeps and those that hate Peeps. I fall
Peeps.
into the second category.
Peeps are terrible.
Oh my God.
Peeps are terrible.
The only thing they're good for is microwave jousting.
Yeah, well, there is that, yes. So Heath and Facebook Live, that's pretty awesome that your son's birthday is was born on Valentine's Day. Spanky also hates Peeps. Look at that.
Yep.
So it's so
We
yes,
should
everybody hates Peeps.
we should do a poll. Love Peeps or hate Peeps?
That's so yeah. Let's nation chime in. Let us know if you love Peeps or hate Peeps.
Yeah, it's one or the other. It's kind of like Peeps are an extreme. It's either one or the other. It's
Yep.
kind of like being pregnant. You either are or you're not.
Yeah,
You either
there
like you either love Peeps or you hate them.
there's no in between on that one.
There is no.
There is-
Well, I kind of like them once a year. No, it's
No,
I can't.
no.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like those snowballs.
Oh God, I hate snowballs. I'm right there with Woody Harrelson.
They're terrible. They're a terrible, terrible cake snack thing.
The fact that coconut is not pink for one.
This is true. Coconut is
Naturally.
not pink.
Right up there with pineapple on pizza.
Hey now. There are people who enjoy their pineapple on pizza.
Oh, you and I were getting along so great until just now.
I didn't say it was this guy.
Okay.
All I said is there are people that enjoy it.
There are people that enjoy snowballs, and there are people that enjoy Peeps.
And there are people who think that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
Die Hard is absolutely a Christmas movie.
There's no argument here on this.
It's not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls from Nakatomi Towers.
Oh, God. So it was a good Christmas season, yeah? Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a robbery.
Anyways, so as we start to get, as we cover from our things in the nation and whatnot. Nation, the most important thing to bring you up to speed about is scrolling at the bottom of my screen. Army beats San Diego State University with a final score of 42-35.
Go Army, beat everybody.
In case you were living under a rock over the weekend or busy with family and whatnot because of the holiday, Army beat San Diego State University. Everybody was, they were calling it that San Diego State was going to run over this guy with this Perry guy, who is now 5th all-time in FBS rushing. Let's see here. I got the article pulled up right here. Bam. Because this will roll right into another story. Penny's record-tying day can't top 10-win Army. Also, 10 wins. Best season on record for Army since, I think, 1996.
Woo! The year I made specialist.
Wow. Thank you for dating yourself. I appreciate that very much. So this is going to be a good show, but we'll get into this important thing right here. So just to cover some quick stats, guys. Team stats, we'll break it down for, so San Diego State University had 280 total yards. Army had 446 total yards. Turnovers, San Diego State turned it over twice. Army turned it over once. Time of possession. Mike Golf, let me ask you this. What do you think a good time of possession is for any team, college and or NFL?
I'd want to say somewhere between in upper 20s,
Yeah.
upper 20 minutes,
Yep.
30 or better if they're on the winning side of the game.
Okay. So we'll start with our side, the Army side. Army controlled the ball for 46 minutes.
Good Lord.
San Diego State scored their 35 points in 14 minutes. Army controlled the ball for 46 minutes.
That is unreal.
Now, this is where it gets even better. So the first downs, another important stat here. San Diego State had 11 and Army had 31. Army had 31.
Whoa.
Army had 31. Now, San Diego State only ran 31 plays.
Army just dominated that game.
Army controlled the game. The score does not. The game was tight, but Army ran the ball. Army was 13 of 18 on third down conversions and 2 of 4 on fourth down. And Army did not punt the ball once, apparently. So Army turned the ball over 3 times, twice on downs, and 1 on an interception.
The Army was going for it. Never stop advancing.
Right. So the score is 42-35. Army drove down the field within the last minute of the game, and they scored, and then they went for 2 because they were down by. They obviously didn't have any faith in their kicker, so they were going to go for 2. Because, to quote Army's coach said that he saw that Penny guy with the ball and he did not want to see him with it again. So they were going to go for it and win, or they were going to go for it and lose.
That's pretty bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it works out. Oh wait, it did.
It did, and with the sweep to the the white side of the field, Army scored converted the 2-point conversion. And then, so that put them up 36-35. And Army scored their last 6 points on a scoop and score from San Diego State.
Good Lord.
So it's a good season. 10-win season for Army. Army beats Navy. Army wins their bowl game. Hands down, that's a good season, Army. Hands down.
Good job, Black Knights.
Good job, Black Knights. That's what I'm talking about. Now, we're going to roll right into this other story because this one kind of irked me a little bit.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. So there's a couple ways I look at this, right? One, you are a service academy, right? So things like the national anthem are kind of important. So
A little.
How do you allow your team to miss the national anthem?
Missing movement.
That's a good way to equate it. How? Okay. Secondly, the other part that irks me is the Coach Monken apologized for the team missing the national anthem before the bowl game. So we'll get into the story real quick. When the Armed Forces Bowl started on Saturday, the San Diego State Aztecs were on the field for the playing of the national anthem, but the opposing team, the Army Black Knights, were nowhere to be found. When a football team isn't on the field when the national anthem plays, everybody wants to know why. But when that team is the Army Black Knights, everybody really wants to know why, and they quote, really. We didn't have to wait long to find out what was going on. When Army coach Jeff Monken was interviewed at halftime, he explained what happened, and it's a lot more mundane than you might think.
Instructions unclear. Dick stuck in toaster.
You can watch the video for what he said. But basically, I want to quote from the coach. I want to apologize. I'm most embarrassed for not being out here for the national anthem. They had a 5-minute push. We didn't realize it watching the clock. I want to apologize to all the soldiers, sailors, and airmen out there. We had no intention of missing the national anthem. That's bothered me since we started the game. The Black Knights weren't trying to make a statement of any kind. It was a simple case of bad pregame clock management, and Monken apologized and explained things the first chance he had. With all the contention surrounding what teams and individual players do during the anthem, you can't blame him for wanting to get out in front of this and explain what was going on as he could. So if anyone was wondering what message Army was trying to send when they were in the locker room for the national anthem, it was pretty simple. We forgot what time it was. So we had
can't read a clock.
Yeah, so we had a good discussion on this in one of the chats, and somebody missed our 10 minutes prior to the 10 minutes prior to the 10 minutes prior.
Sorry.
But here's what really irks me about this, right? Of all the teams to ever question, the academies should not be one of those teams that gets questioned for not being out there for the national anthem.
Absolutely not.
Period. If they miss the national anthem, there's obviously a legit reason for them missing it. There's no need for
Right. It's something as simple as somebody didn't set an alarm on their smartphone. But the integrity of, you're right, you're absolutely correct. The integrity of these service schools should never be called into question. These guys aren't going to be taking a knee. They're not protesting anything. They're going to show up for the national anthem. They're going to stand there. They're going to render honors. Render honors. And that's it.
Right. And that's the thing that blew my mind is that he went to apologize. Horseshit. He doesn't need to apologize. Granted. Explain what happened, end of story, move on. Go out there and drum San Diego State University like you did, 42-35, and call it a day.
We missed the time. Sorry. Next question.
And that's what it should have been. End of story. Next question.
Yeah.
So it really blows my mind that this became almost an issue. Right?
Well, people are going to blow it out of proportion because it's a service school and the national anthem.
And it shouldn't have been. It shouldn't even been questioned. And that's what drove me nuts about since this story broke on Saturday. And what I really like is at least Army came out with the win. They came out on top. And it kind of buried the story a little bit. But still, to question any service academy on where they are for the national anthem, fuck you. We're a service academy. We do what the fuck we want. The opinions of those stated by the host are those of those and theirs alone, and do not represent the official position of WTF Nation Radio.
I speak for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, that just blew my mind. Sorry.
I'll tell you the same thing I told my boss lady. You question my integrity, my work ethic, or you take the joy out of my job, and I'm walking out the front door.
I totally agree.
She didn't think I was serious.
Totally agree. Do not question. Yeah, things you don't question about service members. Well, most service members.
For the most part, yeah. You don't give carte blanche to anybody.
Let me not carte blanche that. Work ethic and integrity. Two things that most service members hold in high regard for themselves.
Correct.
You being one of them, because they should. And most do. And, for those that don't, it comes out. It eventually gets found out.
Right. So questioning the coach of the Black Knights about missing the national anthem equates, in my mind at least, to questioning his integrity.
I totally agree. And that's, yeah. So those are those two stories. So are you ready for the rest of the bowl season? I mean, because there's like 70 of them or whatever. Or 70 teams getting to the bowl, so there's 35 to 38 bowls or something like that.
Yeah. Let's see. I've lost track of a lot of things that are going on. Where's Auburn at? Where's my War Eagle?
What? Hold on. Jesus, criminy. I'll pull it up quick. Bowls. Here we go. Oh, my interwebs are slow. Do you know what bowl they got into?
I don't know. It was
Some funky bowl.
some funky bowl.
The non-SEC champs. Oh!
Oh,
Oh!
yeah.
That's okay. My team is lucky to get no bowl, so I don't care. They play UCF at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. So they're going to the Peach Bowl, and that's on the 1st. Oh, look at that. Look at you. January 1st
Yeah.
bowl game for your, what are they, the Crouching Tigers? Is that what they are?
Yeah, the Tigers. Tigers, Plainsmen, War Eagle. Yeah.
Oh. Joseph Lowndes, I will root for Penn State only because they're Big Ten and they're going up against a Pac-12 team. But I'll say this, go Hawks. Yeah, so no, I'm excited for bowl season. It's underway, and there's been some barn burners, and there's been some really good games. Troy blew out North Texas 50-30. Jesus, 80 points in a bowl game. Jesus God. Let's see.
Yeah.
Florida Atlantic blew out Akron 50-3. Louisiana Tech blew out SMU 51-10. Holy shit. Temple beat Florida International 28-3. Ohio beat UAB 41-6. Let's see if there's any other blowouts. Oh, Appalachia State.
Who?
Appalachian State
Wow.
shut out Toledo 34-0.
Good Lord.
Oh, man, it's good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So, yeah, I got that off my chest. Again, Army beat San Diego State University. That'll scroll across the bottom of the screen for most of the night. Let's see here. Oh, what you got? Do you have anything right now? Because if not, we can roll in one of my other articles.
I do not.
All right. Oh,
Please continue, sir.
we'll stay with football because this gets everybody going. NFL cancels Sunday Night Football this week.
That's the one.
What are your takes about that? I wanted to hear
That's-
Mike Golf's opinion
this-
on this.
If this doesn't scream that the NFL is a money-hungry, greedy organization, nothing will. They canceled the last game of the regular season because nobody's going to fucking watch it. Pardon my language. Because none of the games that they have, for one, it's on what, New Year's Eve,
It is on New Year's Eve.
and two, none of the games that they have scheduled have any kind of playoff implications. Greg Cloud, I apologize, but our Broncos have failed this season.
Yeah, I tell you what, there was a point when they were going through this quarterback quandary, if that's what we want to call it, quick.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Elway needs to get off his high horse and whatnot, and
No pun intended.
yeah, and go sign Kaepernick. I was honestly, hold on. I know where you're going with this, and I know what everybody else is going to say on the nation, right? Okay. Here's the thing, though. He can win, right? He understands how to play football. He's got arm strength. His accuracy is a little meh at times, and he's got legs and he can run, right? So he can be mobile if he needs to. Now, I know a lot of the nation's going to be pissed off that I said this, and I know you don't agree with it. However, he is an NFL quarterback who could have helped a team that needed, because the team has weapons, right? The Broncos have weapons, right? And they have a defense. Donald Brewer, I do agree that our defense is aging, right? The Broncos defense is aging. However, this year and next year are probably it for that defense as it sits right now. I truly believe that. But had we went and got Kaepernick, had we went and got somebody like that was ready to rock and roll, it was, I think we would have done a lot better.
If I
I'm
may
ready for-
interject now,
you may interject, sir.
aside from the obvious with Sacripick, he's a garbage quarterback. He's absolutely garbage. He's horrible. He could play. I would accept him being on the Broncos if he played third string behind Brock Osweiler and Kyle Orton.
Ooh, really?
Yes, I would start Brock and Kyle before I had Kaepernick. The guy did absolutely nothing for the 49ers other than cause a PR nightmare.
No.
He was not
Under
a talented
Harbaugh's
quarterback.
system, though, he was a successful quarterback under Harbaugh's system.
Harbaugh's system's not going to work in Denver, though. That's with the offensive line
I got that.
that Denver has. His nickname is Sacripick. They didn't like him in Santa Clara when he played there, and then he started the protest. That tells you how bad he is.
Right. And the only other take about this that I have on that is that the rumor is that he was offered to play. Granted, it was for a backup role for the Seahawks.
Backup to the backup to the backup, maybe.
No, he was brought in to be he was either brought in to be right behind Wilson or behind Wilson, the second string. He was brought in and worked out by the Seahawks during the season, not preseason. During the season, they brought him in and worked him out.
You know, if he does come back to the NFL, the only teams that'll ever take him would be one of the teams on the West Coast.
Well,
if Oregon had a team, they would have worked him out too.
Oh, hold on. Now I want to pull up this story. Stand by.
Nice segue.
No. Hold on. There's another story now. Now that you said that, there's another story that's floating around there.
Oh, please don't talk about who is it, Jay-Z or Kanye buying a football team
Actually, it's not.
or a basketball team or whatever the hell they were trying to do.
Hold on. Aha, there it is. Let me see if I can find a real art. Shit. Man, I wanted it something other than the Daily Beast, but I guess we'll have to use the Daily Beast.
So while he's looking that up, I just want to tell everybody I made a belt out of watches.
You what?
I made a belt out of watches. It was a waste of time.
That sounds like, yeah, that sounds really odd.
It's a dad joke.
Oh, okay, here it is. I got it. And this is off NBC or whoever the Peacock is. So, P. Diddy wants to buy the Carolina Panthers.
There it is. That's
Yes.
the story.
Yes.
I knew it was Kanye, Jay-Z, P.
One of
Diddy,
those
Snoop,
guys. Yeah,
somebody.
they wanna buy the Carolina Panthers.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and well, here's the thing though, is he wants to go in with them, and the rumor is it's a conglomerate or whatever for P. Diddy and Kaepernick and a couple others, kind of like they did with the Dodgers when Magic Johnson and those guys all went and bought the Dodgers together.
Yeah.
So kind of the same things. What they're looking at is that they want to buy the Panthers, because apparently the Panthers might be for sale, and and then start Kaepernick as their quarterback.
Well, that's one way to get a starting position as quarterback is buy the fucking team.
I mean, if you own the team, you can do what you want, right?
Exactly.
Let's be real. If you own the team, you can hire whoever you want.
As a quarterback for a team I owned. Yeah, no, there's no conflict of interest there, Mr. Kaepernick. Go ahead and suit up.
But though that goes back to the days of, and the immediate thought I had is that goes back to the days in baseball when you had the player manager,
Yes.
right? Which basically died with the Pete Rose era, because there hasn't been one in a long time.
Right. But they still suit up.
They do.
The tradition is there.
Well, actually, that's a part of the MLB rules. So the manager either has to be dressed alike in uniform with the team or in a suit, like you see the NBA coaches wear. I'm sorry, I'm not wearing a suit in mid-July.
I'm not wearing a suit in mid-July in Atlanta. God, can you imagine the Braves owner or the Braves manager?
Yeah. Oh God, any of those teams in the Southeast.
Good Lord. Or Florida Marlins. Or Miami Marlins now.
Yeah, those poor bastards. They would be sweating. Oh, nope. Yeah, so Donald Brewer in Facebook Live Chat's got a couple good points. I agree. There is a lot of PR missteps that Kaepernick has that makes him unapproachable almost at this point to be an NFL quarterback. I would totally agree with that. And the only thing I could see that would if a team were to bring him on, basically they'd have to lay out for him be like, look, all this drama stops when you come on the field. Do whatever you want off the field. Bring awareness to wherever you want to do and however you want to do it. It doesn't happen on the field.
Okay, right? Hold on. Okay, yeah, Donald's got a good point about Kaepernick's PR missteps, but Michael Vick had some pretty massive PR missteps as well.
Right. But
he's back in the NFL.
Right. His was dogfighting.
Still a PR nightmare.
It's still a PR nightmare, but he went.
You don't mess with women or children or dogs.
Right. And he paid his debt to society. Mm-hmm. Went to jail, paid his debt, came out. There was a team that needed to win, and they went and got him.
Okay, so the only thing that's missing in this calculation is Cap's
jail time.
Yeah, he's got to repay society somehow, or be justified in an apology or something, or
right. But
that's what's missing in this equation and in this formula. It's going to get Cap back on the field.
And I think you know what? I think if you get the right team that did it, because what was it the Eagles that brought Vic back?
Right? I can't remember who it was.
Anyway, but they had a huge PR program to counter all that anti-Vic stuff.
Right.
He did a lot of community outreach. He was a part of this whole PR. They had a whole PR campaign to counter all that stuff. And it was really, really, they did it brilliantly. I mean, I hate to say it. They actually knew what they were doing because they knew what they were getting into when they wanted to bring him on.
Yeah.
And it could happen for Kaepernick. I really believe that. He still needs to develop as a quarterback for the NFL, for the level the NFL is.
Yes.
But he also needs a system that supports his style of play. And there's not many systems that are similar to what Harbaugh ran when he was in San Francisco.
Thank God.
But that system worked, and Harbaugh was very successful for his stint in for 2 years. Mm-hmm. When that I can't remember what they call it, but basically the elusive quarterback that Kaepernick and Wilson brought to there. But again, it goes back to that whole PR nightmare, that whole stance that he would bring with him, because there'd be angry vets, there'd be angry everybody about this whole thing, about whatever team brought him on board.
Yep.
Right.
It would be. They would replace the Raiders as the most hated NFL team.
They would.
Immediately.
They absolutely would. But again, it'd take a good PR campaign to fix that. And I don't know.
And as a testimony to the fact that he's not playing in the NFL right now, is I don't think any NFL team has the PR staff that can handle that kind of a load.
Right. And
look at Sam. What's his name? The first openly gay NFL player.
Oh God!
They couldn't handle that.
I know who you're at. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And that was a simple fix.
Yep.
It was deal with homophobia. Cap's problem, his PR nightmare, is so much bigger than anything the NFL has ever experienced before. This is worse than Ray Lewis or what's his name, knocked his wife out in the elevator.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. God bless it. Jesus. It escapes me, but I know who you're talking about. But Cause has a good point in the Facebook live chat. If a team wants to bring him in during preseason and training camp and work him out, and he makes it on talent alone, just based on arm strength and accuracy and all that other stuff, then so be it.
Yeah.
But Cause doesn't think he can compete. I think he can. I think he needs a little bit of development, and he will be a great NFL quarterback. I really believe that. But it goes back to everything else that comes with him. Look at the circus that followed Tebow.
And that was just a religious belief.
Right, but Tebow didn't ask for that stuff. He didn't
No.
ask to be popular. He didn't ask for those followings and things like that. It just happened. And even if Kaepernick were to drop the on the field stuff and just did it off the field or however he wanted to choose to do it, and it wasn't on the field, I think it would still follow him, and it would still be, like we were talking, a PR issue for that team.
Correct.
Bottom line.
Yeah, Ray Rice.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Donald Brewer in Facebook live chat.
But and I agree with Cause wholeheartedly, which is why I say, if Cap was to be drafted back onto a team, he needs to sit on the bench and be third string. He's the guy that plays, next Sunday's NFL game.
And that's the other thing is that going back to Cause's comment, if he makes it on talent, so be it. And where he falls on that talent roster and the depth chart, so be it. So Doc in the Mixer chat, but if he's a queer, that makes him more fun to tackle.
Dog pile.
Yes, maybe perhaps, Doc.
It depends. Is he a bottom or a top? Oh, sorry.
That's sure. Let's go with that.
My opinions are my own and don't directly reflect those of the WTF Nation Radio.
No. Spencer William, how is Cap like Paxton Lynch?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's. I would like to know that. That's very interesting. Because I don't remember Paxton Lynch ever taking a knee during a Broncos game.
In protest.
In any reason.
Other than maybe to, I don't know, run the clock out at the end of the game.
Well, we haven't had to do that in a hot minute, so yeah.
No. We need every second of play we can get.
Oh yeah. So here's my other take about this. So obviously there's an agreement between the NFL and the Department of Defense about the whole troop thing, and that's been a huge nut roll and whatnot when that all started coming to light and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So here's my question on it though. Let's say because it'd have to be the other NFL owners that approve the purchase of the Carolina Panthers for that conglomerate that they put together, right?
Correct.
What kind of blowback and or hostility do you think there could be between that new ownership and the Department of Defense with that issue? Because that contract or that agreement is between the NFL, which is an entity, and the Department of Defense, right? Mm-hmm. So if that team chooses not to be a part of that kumbaya we'll use, what kind of headache would that not only create for that partnership between the NFL and the DOD, but what kind of headache would that create between the NFL as a entity and the Carolina Panthers ownership now?
They would end up being the black sheep of the league. They would lose out on millions of dollars from the DOD because they pay for that stuff.
Yes, I won't argue that, and that was some of the anger and whatnot when that all came out in the wash.
So the long-term effects is if they need to replace their stadium, they're not going to have the capital to do that. They're going to end up being a crappy team. because they'll be ostracized from the rest of the league. They'll replace over time, they'll end up replacing the Raiders as the outcast or the outlaws of the league. They won't have the income they'll go down the same road that the Raiders have gone down since the 70s. They'll lose income, which will end up draining their talent pool in the long run, second, third order effects.
Right.
They won't be able to win crap, and they'll just end up being a t-shirt team, which is what, if you go into Oakland, the Raiders are a t-shirt team. They don't win anything ever. The last time the Raiders have been in the playoffs was the 80s. The only thing they're good at is selling merchandise.
No, they were. No,
and that's,
they went
and
the
that's
Super
thanks to
Bowl
Al Davis.
not too long ago, right?
I'm married to a Raiders fan.
I'm sorry.
There's 2 days and I'm a Broncos fan, so
I'm sorry.
we've got 2 days a year we do marriage counseling. But if you look at the merchandising and the focus on merchandising that the Raiders do, they don't. Al Davis started Just Win Baby, right?
Yep.
But if you look around the Bay Area, it's Just Sell Baby. There's Raider merchandise stores on every corner in the Bay Area, and if the Panthers get sold to this conglomerate and they start bucking the system, they're going to lose millions of dollars. They're going to end up a t-shirt team like the Raiders are, just to try and make up some ground so they can pay decent players to be a playoff contender.
Right.
They're gonna lose. They're gonna lose a lot.
I agree. And so, Spencer.
Yeah, Vegas Raiders.
Yep. So Spencer William and Facebook Live Check's got a good point to Joseph. It is advertising. The Department of Defense is paying for advertising. However you want to look at it, either to draw recruits into the DoD, to get contracts, to have people put R&D into the Department of Defense, or have their R&D help with the Department of Defense. Either way, this becomes a very, very big issue when you're looking at it from this aspect of not only a controversial figure amongst the vets, as Kaepernick has become, but where does that money go as it starts to roll in? If let's say the conglomerate buys, let's say this conglomerate happens, right, and they buy the Panthers, and they don't want to play by the NFL rules or whatever it is, does the NFL cut that money that the DoD is paying for advertisement from them? I would say cut it from them.
Because you've got two fundamentally opposite forces here. You've got the Department of Defense, which is the definition of patriotism, or the face of patriotism for most people, right? And then you've got the opposite end of that spectrum is Colin Kaepernick, which most people see as anti-patriotic. Even though we understand, you look at it from a critical perspective, he's protesting the abusive treatment of people of color by law enforcement. But he's doing so by dealing for the national anthem, which is seen as unpatriotic. So people see it as opposing ends of a polar discussion.
Right.
I'm telling you, they're going to lose money. They're not going to be able to afford the best players. They're not going to be a playoff contender ever again.
Yeah. Oh, and so Donald Brewer in the Facebook live chat, he did say that. P. Diddy has said that if he can put this conglomerate together to buy the Panthers, he will sign Kaepernick as a starting quarterback.
Never mind the fact that Cam Newton is a much better player.
I got that. But I tell you what, that's fine. Sign him to be a starting quarterback, and Cam Newton, and there will be a team happy to buy out Cam's contract.
Which that statement alone just goes to show you that the Panthers would never be they're not an NFL team. This is a publicity move.
You know what? Let it. And that's the thing is, I guarantee you there's a team already, with this even being rumored, there are teams that are looking at Cam Newton's contract, wanting to know what it would take to get him off the books from the Panthers if that happened.
Cam Newton, if you're listening, you need to sign with Denver. Just saying.
Or anybody else.
Yeah.
But we would like
come
you
to-
in Denver.
come to Denver.
I'm just saying, we have weapons.
Come to Denver.
We have weapons and we have a defense. For
Yes.
at least the next 2 years, we have a defense.
Until they age out.
Spanky says she's making notes and going to send an email for us. Woohoo!
Sweet.
Kaz, that's not funny.
No, Kaz, stop.
Kaz,
The
that's
who?
no. Why? Why would you
The
say
only-
that, Kaz?
The Cleveland Browns, the only team in the NFL that had to take a vacation.
Totally.
Sorry.
Vacation.
Didn't mean to make you spit your drink.
That's close. But yeah.
It's tough in the NFL. We're gonna take the next couple of years off.
Oh my God.
We'll be back.
Let's not get started on the Browns. But no, so here.
Who decided on your fucking team name? Oh, that's what we'll call the team.
Yes. Matthew Martell,
I don't
Eli
think that's gonna
Manning will
happen.
be the Broncos. Oh, you say that. I talked about that a couple of days ago. Is that how much influence would Peyton have to John Elway to bring in Eli if he is released from his contract?
Oh,
Yeah. So think about it.
Peyton and Manning and Elway are the powerhouses of influence in Denver. Whether it comes to NFL, car dealerships, politics,
And pizza.
and pizza,
And pizza.
Elway and Manning are the golden children of the Rocky Mountain State.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is that, so here we go. So the scheme would work for Eli. And
Yeah.
the weapons are in place, both on offense and defense, for him to be successful.
Okay. If we can get Eli and Cam, I'll take Kaepernick as a third string.
You know what? I
would accept it.
I don't think that, one, that would be fantastic, but two, I don't think that would happen. Now, I would take either or. Kirk Cousins. What's wrong with you, Donald Brewer? Seriously. Everybody knows that the Redskins are going to re-tag him with a franchise tag and just hang out.
God damn it, Donald.
Kirk Cousins in a Broncos uniform. No.
No, not happening.
I would rather see Eli Manning in a Broncos uniform before I saw Kirk Cousins in a Broncos uniform. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
I'd rather see Jay Cutler in a Broncos uniform again.
Wow. Let's
Wow, did that just fall out of my mouth?
I
I'm
think
sorry.
it did. Now I got to find another news story. Hold on. I got to change the subject here. Hold on. Fox News.
Donald, I will find you in Los Santos. I swear to God.
Los Santos.
Okay, so a little bit of history here. Donald Brewer and I were next door neighbors when I was at Fort Hood.
Oh, God.
So yeah, we shoot each other in GTA 5.
I will find you. That's probably one of the best threats that ever happened on here. Is that
I
we
will
should,
gun you down in Los Santos.
this Matthew Martell
okay.
guy. Hold on. Matthew Martell. We are not bringing back Tebow. I love the guy. He was good. He was okay.
Not good enough.
Took care of the ball. We are not bringing Tebow back to Denver. Unless it's to play tight end. Because I tell you what, before I go into this other story quick, before we break, if there's any team and any coach that could have found him to work him into a scheme, it was when he was brought in to be worked out by the Patriots with Belichick. Okay? Now, at that time, they had both Hang Time and Gronkowski, or was it? Yeah. Right? And had they brought in, had they would have had Tebow convert to a tight end, right? Those would be three. You wouldn't need to run anything else. You run those three tight ends who could all take care of the ball, who are all 225 plus. Tebow weighed in at 251 in his last workout, right? And you just dump it over the middle of the tight ends and let them go down the field. There would be no need for wideouts. Dump it over the middle. Dump it over the middle. that tight end, or if you wanted to run it, holy God. You bring in your jumbo package, you got those three tight ends blocking. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Had Tebow converted to tight end for the Patriots, yeah. No need for a wideout.
Yeah.
At that point. And on that note, I'm going to find this Matthew Martell. Don't put that evil on us. Don't you dare put that evil on us.
Okay, I'll give you. You know what Donald's Achilles heel is? Huh. You know what his weakness is?
What, hookers and blow?
No.
Oh, okay.
Don't talk about Rapelessburger or the Pittsburgh Kneelers.
Oh, did you watch that game and see that catch on was that Monday?
Yesterday? No, I was at work.
Oh, there was an awesome catch. So the Texans got crushed by the Steelers. But man, there was an awesome catch by for their one touchdown, I think it was. And yeah, it was Mike Vick to the Broncos. Mike Vick might be a little old to be playing
a little bit
football at this point.
He needs to be training service dogs.
Wow. Oh my God.
That's your penance, Vic. Go train service dogs.
Oh, that was good. Holy shit.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, that was awesome. Whew. Wow. Yes, Spencer Williams, wow.
I'm going to get you to spit your drink by the end of the night, Great Cloud.
Oh my God, that was good. Holy cow. Oh. Whew. And on that note, bite suit.
Oh, Allie just went to a totally different direction. Yes. I was thinking like veteran service dogs. Allie went with police service dogs.
Yes.
With Michael Vick being the dummy.
Oh my God. And on that note, Nation, stick around for a second hour. We are going to have we have a guest this evening. Let's see here. I have that stat. Oh, I thought I had it pulled up already. Okay. So tonight we have Brittany from the SD. I lost it. My apologies.
SD Gunner Fund.
SD Gunner Fund. We have Brittany Kennard from SD Gunner Fund. She was a veteran that was injured in Iraq, and we'll be on to talk about the SD Gunner Fund and what they do for vets and disabled children. So as we go to break, stick around, and we will have her back to talk about her cause and her what she's doing. So at that, we are going to go to break, Nation. So hang out with us, and we'll be back.
Come back for the second hour. I promise you're not going to be disappointed.
Hide from the truths you deem lies. 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 Hungry for another taste. You stumble around the time you waste, and your table's overturned. Sooner or later you crash, then you burn. I think I wanna die tomorrow. And are you gonna be with me? I think I wanna die tomorrow, 'cause I'm out of time and I'm out of my mind. The simple ways come and go. Still I love the way you turn me on. But I just can't find the words, 'cause everything I say sounds so absurd. I think I wanna die tomorrow. Tired of being with me. I think I wanna die tomorrow, 'cause I'm out of time and I'm out of my mind. But
Broadcasting live from the basement of the Pentagon. This is WTF Nation Radio.
And Nation, we are back for our second hour, and we are joined by Brittany Kynard. Did I get that right, Brittany? Kynard, my apologies again. With SD Gunner Fund. And they do a lot of great things for getting service dogs out to vets and disabled children. Is that correct?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about SD Gunner Fund.
Well, the SD Gunner Fund was started in 2014 after a long, vicious battle for my husband and his service dog, and having to fight the Department of Veterans Affairs. My husband served 20 years with the Army and was hit by an IED in 2005. During that process, the VA determined he needed a service dog, and once I started the process and had to write the check, the VA was like, "Oh, just kidding. No, we don't want to cover that." So we had a long, about 18-month battle of trying to get the VA to pay for the service dog that they ordered, in which we eventually won. But during that process, we had a friend who had a service animal, and it was, unfortunately, I guess the term you would use is repossessed. The veterinarian would not turn the dog loose because he could not afford the bill. So unfortunately, he committed suicide about 2 weeks later. It was at that point we wanted to find a way to give back. But there's a lot of groups out there that do service dogs for veterans specifically. So we originally started just covering the financial portion of obtaining and maintaining a service animal. We would pay for trainers, we would pay vet bills, we would pay, for vest if the dog outgrew it, just little odds and ends of things. And as we progressed, I started getting a lot of phone calls from people asking me to train dogs. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't have time for this. Because my husband and I have two children. One is 7 and one is 5. And my 7-year-old is autistic. And so we sat down and we talked about it at length. And a lot of your very reputable organizations have anywhere from a 2 to 3 year wait list for their dogs. And some people just can't wait that long. So we decided to go the venture of training, and we just this past year we brought on the man that actually trained Gunner, which is my husband's dog. He's now our training director, and I've gone through several classes and seminars and learned a lot in the last several years. And we just started training dogs. I think we placed 4 our first year, and as of 2017 we did 14 dogs this year. So it's kind of crazy, but we've been very blessed to have the friends and the family supporting us and our followers and et cetera. And we're just always looking for a way to help. We added special needs children after our son was diagnosed with autism, because I realized at the time, again, there's several groups out there that help veterans get service dogs. When you step out of the military sector of it and you start looking at groups who help the generally disabled or special needs, there's not a lot that will provide a dog free of charge to a family. And most families who have special needs children, they're already living paycheck to paycheck. Trust me, we understand how this feels. And when you're sitting there and you're debating, whether or not to pay your mortgage payment or whether to pay the $3,000 you need for therapy for your child to progress, that's a hard pill to swallow. And when you get those phone calls from mamas who are crying and who are upset because they've pulled out their life savings on a last hope, last resort for a service animal, and some of these places take their money and then either they don't get a dog or the dog comes back and it's not even trained and they've now lost $30,000. That's something that they can't, make up. Right. So we added children to our roster just to try to help out where we can. And we can't help every child because sometimes the disabilities are greater than than the dog or any kind of help like that can bear. But we try our best, and so far it's worked out pretty good. But a little bit about me. Like I said, I'm married to my husband who served 20 years in the military. I'm a military wife, a military caregiver. I'm also a caregiver to a special needs child, so I kind of fit the full description of what our organization is based around so that I can relate to anybody and everybody who calls. We may not have the same disability as far as in our household, but I can understand the pain and the struggle and the frustration that comes along with being a family.
Right. And that,
Brittany, being a caregiver for your husband and taking care of a special needs child and doing the SD Gunner Fund thing that you're doing, you're busier than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest, and you're doing an outstanding job at what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
yeah.
So
I've been reading, so a little bit I've read about what your mission is. And the one that really says to me, not only are you taking care of vets, but the kids as well, and that you finding a niche for both, I think speaks volumes to not only your character, but the mission of SD Gunner Fund. And Nation, as you're watching us on the Facebook Live and the Mixer and whatnot, what's on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see the various ways to contact them. It's their Facebook. It's SD Gunner Fund's Facebook, SD Gunner Fund's actual webpage, and then a little bit about them. And then on the left-hand side, we'll run through some of their photos. And they have a calendar coming out for 2018. Is this correct?
Yes. We just launched our calendar. I believe it is last week. It's a little bit of a outside the box sort of scenario, but we work with a lot of different rescues and a lot of shelters, and sometimes we work with breeders, directly. But we have one specific shelter that it's called Operation Pitbull Rescue, and it's out of Jessup, Georgia. It's run by Tammy and Michael Colby. And what motivates me so much about them is Michael is a member of the USMVMC, which is the Military Veterans Motorcycle Club. And they're one of our sponsors for SD Gunner Fund, and they do a big thing for us every year. And so we really love our bikers. But the Operation Pitbull Rescue, they do all of this. Tammy and Michael do all of this out of their pocket. In other words, they're not an animal shelter or a 501c3. I mean, they care so much about these animals that they just pay for it out of their pocket. And they only handle pit bulls. And they have been so nice to us, and they give us pit bulls when I need some or have a specific request for them. And not all of them can be adopted. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to find a way to give back to Tammy for providing us with, so far we've done 2 dogs this year out of her group, and Blue, which is one of hers, is featured in our October breast cancer awareness, and he's a very large blue pit. And then we also placed a Guy from her, which is a white pit, earlier this year. But we wanted to try to find a way to help her get the dogs adopted. And so what we came up with is we put out a ad on Facebook, and we got tons of hits on it, asking for bearded, beer-bellied, tattooed, whatever you could call it, veterans. Just give us a call, and we're gonna do a pinup shoot, and it's gonna be funny, and it's gonna be great. Everybody told me I was nuts. They're like, why in the world would you do this? And I'm like, well, our biggest motto is, or what my husband always says, is we put the fun in dysfunctional, and I wanted to do just that. I wanted to show people that veterans, I know, speaking from a personal level, sometimes when you're dealing with, and I say civilians, but non-military people or non-first responder people, and you say PTSD, my husband's a large guy, and a lot of them think, okay, is he really, has his cheese slid through his crackers? Like, is he going to, hurt all of us or something along that line? And I wanted to show everybody that veterans and pit bulls, 2 things, 2 people, 2 items that are commonly misunderstood by society, can come together and have fun and get along and show everybody that there's a different side to their personalities than what you generally think. And that's kind of why we went that route. So every dog in the calendar that you see, with the exception of maybe 3, are up for adoption with Operation Pitbull Rescue. And everybody in the calendar, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2, are veterans. And we had veterans come in all the way from Alabama, from Florida, one from North Carolina. And so I was very happy and very blessed at the same time that all these guys wanted to participate in this very interesting calendar. But our goal is to sell 5,000 calendars. If we sell 5,000 calendars, that will pay for what we have set up is every dog in that calendar that is available for adoption. I believe there's 8 or 9 of them. We will pay their adoption fees. We will also pay for a full training package, since they are pit bulls and they do catch a lot of crap from society. Our lead trainer, James Quarterman, will do basic obedience with all of the animals before they go to their home, and all of that will come as a thank you from us and Operation Pitbull Rescue, for adopting the animal. And then if we sell 5,000 calendars, of course, that will cover all of that. Plus, it will pay for 5 service dogs to be placed with veterans. And we will try our hardest to pull all of those dogs from Tammy's rescue. So it's kind of a dual purpose, but raising awareness and getting these dogs adopted and also providing families with well-trained animals was kind of our overall goal.
No, that's an awesome goal. And I just want to reiterate this to the nation. You heard it, 5,000 calendars, nation. And I speak this all the time. We are the largest community in the U.S. and maybe throughout the world. Get your calendar and share the heck out of it. Let's
share the heck out of it. My calendar just came in today, nation. I just got my calendar today, and if you buy one, you get an extra surprise because I'm in it.
I was just about to say that our own Mike Golf is somewhere in this calendar.
I am in the calendar,
and it's really awesome. I seen the photo. I know which one it is, but that's for you to find out, nation. Now, Brittany, my question, and I know there's a lot of, like you were saying, there's a lot of stigma around vets, when you talk about PTSD, and then, you bring up the pit bull fact, which, when you really think about it, the mission you're tackling here with the pit bulls and the vets and whatnot, you're really trying to change an entire mindset, an entire culture of what surrounds this breed. So my question to you is, what kind of, I know it's a lot of patience, but what's your mindset going forward on how to change that mindset, if that makes sense?
Well, I mean, to be honest, and I shoot straight from the hip. So when I got into the service dog program and training and et cetera, I personally, and I tell everybody that talks to me about this, I was personally scared of pit bulls. I'd never been around them. I'd always heard and seen what was on the news channels. And of course, I grew up on a farm, and my family had always said, stay away from pit bulls, stay away from pit bulls. And it's just kind of beat into you, that they're bad dogs. And when Tammy called me and she said, hey, I have this big white, pit bull, and I think he'd be great. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm not gonna judge anything by the outside. So let's just go see what the dog is about. And I was nervous, and my husband was with me, and my 2 children were with me. And I walked into Tammy's fenced-in area, and this massive dog comes over named Guy, and he looks like he could rip the bumper off the front end of my car. And he has a birthmark on one side of his mouth. And so he looked like he had this kind of Elvis snarl. And I'm thinking, oh, goody. Okay, here we go. And he runs up to me, and I said his name, and all 100 pounds of him flopped over onto the top of my feet, belly up, beating me with his tail, and was just wiggling and was just happy as could be. And I'm like, well, now wait a second. that was not what I was expecting him to, be standoffish or to growl at me or anything like that. And my kids, which my autistic son can tend to be a little, well, I joke and tell everybody when they get a service dog, he has been truly tested from us because the dogs live with me. And if anybody's going to get mauled, it's going to be my son, because he's going to tackle the dog and sit on the dog and push it to its limit just because he doesn't know any better.
Right.
And I mean, Guy tolerated all of it. And he ended up going to, a veteran with PTSD who also has 2 very small children. And a lot of people said, oh, no, you don't place the pit bull with 2 very small children. Have you seen the news where the dogs, eat the baby's feet or whatever that, was on there? And I'm like, yeah, but okay, let's just step back and look. I have pictures, even in the training session, of this little bitty, he couldn't have been 3. And he's holding Guy's leash and he's walking through the yard, and James is helping him, and he is controlling that dog with the assistance of James and supervision, but he is controlling that animal. That animal's not eating him alive. That animal's not dragging him down the road. That animal's not doing anything. And so a lot of people have to understand a dog is only going to reflect its environment and its upbringing, and these dogs are sweet animals.
Yep.
They're absolutely great to work with. They're eager to please, and they're very smart. Yes, some of them have had horrible backgrounds. Some of them have been through hell, and they come back out and their tails are wagging and they're just a smiling. I mean, just like any dog, they all have teeth, and they're all large animals. And so as long as you understand your boundaries going into that, and you gain a mutual respect for one another and you become a team, that dog's point is to be your battle buddy, is to be your best friend. That dog is to watch your 6. And when you make that bond is forever glued together. I mean, it's just something that cannot be broken. And they are the most loyal dogs, which to me symbolizes everything that I think about my husband. I'm not military. Yes, I'm married to it and my husband was in it, but I mean, I would be considered what most people say a civilian, in comparison to the military world. And my husband has been to war just like, you guys have, and been through hell and come back broken. But you know what? He's still that happy-go-lucky, person. And to make a comparison to the dog, he's still gonna wag his tail and smile and say, "Hey, what's up? Let's go do something." But so many people just automatically presume that they know everything about PTSD, or they know everything about triggers, or they're just gonna judge him without even getting to know him. And I don't think that's fair to us as a family, to my husband, to the dog, to any of them. And it is a huge feat to tackle, but I think it is something worth tackling, because both items, both parties, dogs and humans or veterans, need to be able to close that gap between the misunderstanding. And a lot of that goes to special needs children as well. I can't tell you, my husband has a severe traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder and a bunch of other stuff. But, I can't tell you how many people look at him and go, "Oh, you don't look disabled." Okay. Now, in that same sentence, somebody will look at my son and go, "Well, he doesn't look autistic." What does that look like?
Right, because looks are so, looks are
Yeah,
everything in the U.S.
It's like, are you expecting like House of Cards? Like, what exactly does that look like? Because there's the spectrum is so broad. And so I think for our family, a lot of that is, what I call hidden wounds or hidden injuries. My son and my husband look normal. My son and my husband sometimes act normal. And then, my son and my husband are completely dysfunctional most of the time. But, we have fun with that. And if you can't have fun, what can you do other than sit there and feel sorry for yourself? And we don't have time for that.
Agreed.
Like, we got things to do.
So, Brittany, I've got a question from our Facebook Live. They want to know, Spencer William wants to know, what age of dogs do you train?
Well, it really depends. If we are investing everything we've got into a dog, I would say that we don't take any dogs over 2 years old. Now, the reason of that being is this is more of a business decision than necessarily a dog decision. That is because it costs my organization on average about $7,500 to train an animal from start to finish. Now, that includes boarding, feeding, vet care, because I cover all of that, all the accessories they need, training, everything is included. And so because of that, the average working life of a service animal is 8 to 10 years. And when I'm going to donors to ask them to, hey, can I have $10,000? If they're going to donate it to a dog that is, say, 6 years old, that's only going to work 2 years, as a business decision, they don't oftentimes see that their money goes as far versus me getting a 6-month-old puppy and training it and him working 9-10 years. So if that makes sense, but we try not to take over 2 years old. Now, if it's just a special circumstance to where this person's had this dog forever, it's their dog and that dog is on it and it's hitting all the cues it's supposed to, and they really just want it to finish out training and they're really close to the animal. Me personally, I don't think it's fair for some organizations or from other people to say, okay, well, you got to get rid of that dog and get another one. You know what? No. Yeah. If it's going to cause that much heartache, send me the dog. Let's get it trained, and we'll try to do it as quickly as possible so that not a lot of funds are put into that, but also the dog is back to them as quickly, because they don't want to go forever and a day without their pet either.
Right. I can understand that. So I guess my next question rolling into that is, obviously the ballpark was 7,500. What's the timeline from you spot a dog and you think it's going to, that's either adopted or rescued or whatever, or they brought from, like you were saying, brought from somebody. What's the average turnaround from start to finish of being completely trained?
There's a lot of factors that go in there. A lot of it depends on the dog and the intelligence factor of the dog. A great example would be I had a golden retriever who literally passed his CGC test, or his Canine Good Citizens test, and was already task training by the time he was 7 months old. He was brilliant. And then I had another dog that, bless his heart, it took me like 3 months to teach one skill. He just took a little bit longer to catch on than another dog. So it just really depends on the animal and the intelligence factor and their willingness to learn. A lot of your high drive animals, like your German Shepherds and your Poodles and those they're even your Pit Bulls, they're very eager to please you and they work like workhorses. So it really depends. But majority of the time, if I'm getting the animal with absolutely zero training, it is a hoodlum and a half. It might take me a little, I'd say around a year or longer, especially for PTSD is a basic training, so it doesn't take too terribly long. Now, obviously, the more tasks you add on, the longer the training is going to be. So like mobility animal, I think we had a seizure dog for almost 18 months to almost 2 years. And that was for, a child. But, the more tasks that you want to teach usually extends the training time depending upon what it, and no, just to answer everybody's question really quick, I do not teach a dog to fetch a bear from the fridge because I have been asked that several times.
Of course. But, those are important things to vets.
But we mobility would be pulling a wheelchair or cutting on or pushing the handicap buttons or cutting on lights or shutting doors, that type of stuff. That's going to take a little bit longer, depending upon, again, the animal, the age, the intelligence factor. And we have 3 trainers. So you have James, who is my very military style trainer. He's the harsh trainer, and when I say harsh, I just more like mean black and white military style. All of our dogs are trained with positive reinforcement, so there is no hands-on or beating of the animal or anything like that. And then James calls calls me the grandma trainer because I'm a little bit more babying to the animals, and I tend to give in a little bit, softer than he does. And then we have a retriever trainer out of Ocala, Florida, and she actually used to train service dogs for people with MS. So she does retrieving only, and she's also our poodle breeder. So we get all of our standard poodles from her as well.
Oh, awesome. So, okay. So you mentioned, I heard you mention lights and doors and whatnot. What is the most difficult task you've ever had to teach one of your dogs?
I would say the most difficult task for us as an organization. Now, because we're very new, where I tell everybody I'm willing to try anything once. Yeah, I might totally bomb face first in the dirt, but we're going to give it a shot. So it just kind of we've taken everything kind of day by day. But our hardest task so far has been a seizure response dog. We had a purebred collie that went to a beautiful young man who was 10 years old, and he has Fragile X syndrome, and he also has epileptic seizures. And so seizure response is obviously responding once the seizure takes place. Seizure alert would be detecting the seizure before it takes place. And just getting the dog, because that was a whole new experience for all of us. So we were kind of taking it, one day at a time, and the family was great. They were working right along beside us, and it was one of those things where they asked us, and I was like, well, I've never done one before, but sure, let's give it a shot. If you trust me, I'm willing to go for it. Just please know that I may totally bomb, and she's like, no, it's fine. Like, let's just do this. And now now it's more about training the child than the dog, because he likes to hand the leash to other patrons and go, see my dog, and then he just hands you the leash. So now we have to work on him not giving away his dog. But other than that, it works great. It's just been a long process because it's there's different methods to getting the dog to respond, and sometimes the dog doesn't want to respond, and you have to find a way to encourage it to. And it's just a long, drawn out process. So I totally understand now why seizure dogs cost a ton and take a lot of time.
So because we have so many people in such a varying audience here, you've got the people that we want to buy the calendars to support your organization, but for those that want a service dog or need a service dog, can they go through you to get that?
Yes, I don't put our application online because I don't want to get bombarded. Because again, keep in mind, I'm still a mom, I'm still a wife, and I still have a household to run. And I'm a very small organization, not like huge. So I don't put the application online. But what people can do is go to our Facebook page, or they can go to our website, and they can click contact us and send me a message, and then I will usually respond with and send them the application, and they can go from there. But our application is a very easy process, especially for our veterans. It is more in depth for our children because they're under the age of 18. But we try to keep it as simple as possible, because if most veterans are like my husband, if I slam you with 25 pages, he's not filling that out. So we're just going to want to keep it short and sweet. And I don't require anything strange or weird. No videos, none of that. We just need, your DD-214, marked out all of your important information like social security numbers, and something from the VA stating, your disability. And that's really it. It's very simple.
And what is the turnaround time for something like that, from the time somebody applies to the time you vet them and actually get them the dog and start the training?
Well, so far,
seems, like you said, you've got a household to run, and it seems like it would be a pretty time intensive undertaking.
It can be. James, our training director, he's married. He has 2 children as well. And Lily, our other trainer, runs a horse farm, a horse rescue. So we're all kind of living lives and doing this at the same time. But, we try not to keep people waiting too long. The most I think I've had someone wait is about 6 months, because I'm a very small organization, and because of our situation, my husband and I lost our home in Hurricane Matthew last year. So we lost our ability to kennel, a lot of dogs because now I'm renting, and hello, landlord does not look kindly if I have like 12 dogs in here. So, we have to keep it very limited. But James is in South Carolina, and he has our kennels. So, we've had up to 10 dogs at one time, and so it kind of varies. But I don't have a breeding program or where I keep a bunch of dogs. I don't ever look for a dog until I get your application. And then once I get your application, it usually takes me 30 days or less, because I'm a little different. I don't like to say, okay, this is my next dog. This is what you're going to get. Because I don't think that's fair to you. I don't think it's fair, because you may not want a poodle or a pit bull or whatever I've got next in line. So I spend a lot of time talking to the veteran, talking to the girlfriend, the wife, the mom, whoever's with them, and talking to everybody involved because, I want to know, if you're a veteran and you're single, do you like cleaning? Because if you don't like vacuuming, you do not want Gunner, like our dog. You're going to vacuum 42 times a day. Nobody wants that. Or if you have dark furniture, do you want a white dog, or do you want a dark colored dog? Do you want an exotic dog? I mean, we really try to take everything into consideration when looking at dogs. And I've gotten some pretty strange requests, but thankfully my vets pretty much stick to, cane corsos, pit bulls, your manly, dogs. And I have one that has a collie, and I have one that has a poodle. So, it all varies. But, if you have allergies or, hypoallergenic, if you need a hypoallergenic dog, then you're stuck to oodles, Labradoodles, golden doodles, poodles, those type of things. So I try to take all of that into consideration when picking a dog, because I want you to be as involved in the process as possible. And then I'll send you some photos and say, okay, this is what we've got. A great example would be, we had a child that was autistic and loved the color yellow. And it's like buying a car. You see all these cars every day fly by you, and you're like, yeah, I like that car. Then the moment you go to buy one, you can't find one anywhere. That was kind of like us. This child had to have a short-haired yellow lab. And it took me forever to find one because I had seen 42,000 of them the week before, and then the week I get to look and I couldn't find one. And so a lot of times with children with sensory needs, they're very color specific, or they're very, sensory specific on how the dog's hair feels, what it, when it touches them, how do they feel? Do they like the way is it soft? Is it crunchy? Is it hard? They're very specific, about all of that. And so we want to make sure that it's something that comes naturally with the child, and you don't want to have to force the bond if the child doesn't like, the way the hair feels or the texture.
Right. So it sounds like you've got a pretty good vetting process for the animals. Is there a similar follow-up vetting process for the vets? Because Greg Collette and I had talked earlier about, you can't really give carte blanche to veterans. You can't really classify us all in the same category. So do you do like an in-depth, application screening or behavior screening for vets as well as the dogs?
Well, a lot of times, one thing about us, when you become a client of ST Gunner Fun, you get all of us. Whether you want it or not, you get all of us. And you really become a member of our family. All of our veterans have stayed here at my house, with the exception of maybe 2, and 1 I drove to Pennsylvania and stayed at his house. And so I want you to get to know us. I want to get to know you, and I want to see, because a lot of people, especially with PTSD and varying symptoms, I want to hear your story. I want to know if it makes sense. I want, and a lot of times I don't find that information out, to be honest. A lot of times my husband will go sit down with the veteran because they don't know me and they don't want to tell me stuff like that. So, he'll go sit down with them and they'll have their veteran, talk and bonding session, and he'll really kind of get in the meat of the conversation. And it also helps him too, because he tells his story, and then he'll come back and he'll fill me in I guess, on the wife aspect of it, not give me all the details, but he'll fill me in, and let me kind of know what that is. And sometimes, I mean, to be honest, we've had probably 2 dogs that, yes, the veteran had PTSD, but really and truly, they just needed something to love. They needed something to love them back and to not be judgmental, and that's okay too. I mean, it's one of those things where, if you need an emotional support companion, I can find that too. That's not a problem. But, they just needed somebody because they were lonely, and they wanted to love something, and it works out great. So we try to, there's no judgment here. There's nothing you can tell me that I haven't heard in some variation. I don't blush easily, and I don't get offended. I mean, so I've heard everyone's story. Everyone's cried on my shoulder, and that's what we're here for. When you, even once you get the dog, if you need to call me and scream at me, if you need to tell me just something horrific, that's fine. You've got my number. Call me. And that's really the kind of support that we want to provide in vetting everybody, and then once they're approved, it's just to let everybody, you're safe. Just tell me the truth. Tell me everything. Let me in your world, and then I can help you. And that's easier said than done sometimes. And sometimes guys are just not really comfortable. Female veterans tend to be very closed off. But we've been very blessed because my entire board, we're all female. I have a female Marine, and then I have the granddaughter of a veteran that is also female, and she specializes in, addiction assistance, or she's helped with that sort of stuff, and so she's really good at dealing, with alcohol or drugs or anything like that you need to talk about. So we all serve a role, and we're all here, and there's probably, we've seen and heard just about everything, and yeah, I don't know if I just talked in circles or not, but.
So it sounds like it's far more than providing veterans and disabled kids with service dogs and adopting out animals. But it's an all-encompassing package, a complete support system, and an entire network is what you're offering, is what it sounds like.
Sure. I mean, my husband and I leave our phones on all night. It's nothing for me to get calls at 2:30 in the morning. I remember a few years ago, I've never even provided a service dog for this individual, but they got my number and they called at 2:30 in the morning, and I was not prepared for it. I remember I could hear them talking, and I remembered I heard the weapon in the background, and I reached over and I slapped my husband. I was like, "Get up." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "Get up now." And he's like, "What?" I said, "I don't know if I'm going to lose this guy by the end of the conversation." And so my husband got up, and he was another veteran, and he went outside and he talked to this person from 2:30 in the morning to 6:30 the next morning. And when he finally came back to bed, he was like, all this is good, everything's fine, it's going to work. And we've been friends since with this individual, and never even met him. My husband never even met him until last year. So friends for over 4 years, only talked by cell phone, and then finally, meeting. But we do everything. I mean, I'm not just service dogs. We partner with hunting camps and take leftover, chunks of meat that necessarily they don't eat or don't want, and we package it and we give it to our World War II veterans to make sure they have meat to get through the wintertime. I've paid heating bills. I've paid electric bills. I've bought therapy equipment that insurance doesn't cover for our children. We do a lot of things, but our primary focus, yes, is service dogs. But, like I said, once you become part of our family, you get more than you probably want. You get a bunch of people that aren't going to leave you alone.
So, Brittany, I've got 2 things. So who is James Quarterman?
James Quarterman is our training director. He is the man who trained Gunner for my husband.
Okay.
And he is in charge of certifying and giving all the testing and task training for all of our animals to finish our program.
Okay. I want to give him a shout out. He's in our Facebook Live chat, and he is just knocking out these questions, and the answers he is giving is phenomenal. So Nation, if you're not paying attention, or if you're just listening and can't see the Facebook Live, get a chance to get in there. He is answering a lot of the questions. And the one answer that he gave that really hit hard. Somebody had asked how long is the follow up for the dogs, and until the dog passes. That's commitment not only to the service member, but to that dog and that bond that you guys have helped develop. So I want to give you guys a great shout out for that. The second thing I want to bring up is I'm on your webpage and the donations. And I want to make sure the nation hears this to help you guys out. Other than monetary, I'm looking at other ways you can donate. Vests, patches, RV and high-rise vans and things like that. What more than anything, if you wanted to tell the nation right now what you guys really need for the next couple months, what would that be?
Well, like I said, we lost our home in the hurricane. And so, a lot of what we had is now gone. So we are looking for, multi-purpose kennels. We're looking for all kinds of dog supplies, collars, leashes, crates, bedding. All of that, obviously was lost, and we've slowly replenished it. But we're getting there. We had a great donor donate dog food, but yeah, I'd say our largest items of need right now are probably, your multi-slotted kennels. We do a lot of traveling. Our vets either come to my house and stay with me, or they go to James's house and they stay with him, or we go to their house. And so traveling is quite horrendous for all of us. So, gas cards for delivering the dogs, and vest. Those are our primary, expenses. We also have, we accept gift cards to go towards vet care. A lot of people don't realize, but the dogs that we get from rescue, they haven't received the proper vet care. And we get a lot of dogs that are testing positive for heartworm. And that doesn't mean that they can't work. It just means it's an expensive treatment. So we take gift cards for veterinarian care. It's really just kind of whatever and whenever can benefit the dog. But we're, as an organization, just so everybody is aware, we are all volunteer. Nobody gets paid. It is, 100% of our funds go to our program, our dogs, and our veterans and our children. So none of us receive salary. None of us receive anything. So your money is not getting, wasted on my salary or James's salary or anybody else's, because we're all doing this, because we love it, and we love you. And that's just our way to, our way to kind of give back.
Right. So we'll wrap up with this one last question. Spencer Williams wants to know, you said you lost your home during the hurricane, Matthew, last year. He wanted to know if you guys are looking for space to build a new kennel, or if you still have that property where the kennel was.
We have since moved. So right now, that kind of makes it a little bit of a personal question, but hell, who cares? Our personal home, our insurance did not cover our home, and FEMA found every way to deny everyone in our area assistance. So our home was a total loss, and that was unfortunate, but our house was condemned with black mold. So going back there is not an option. We've already since then moved. Where we are currently located, we obviously are renting, but our main training headquarters, now that we have moved it to where Mr. Quarterman or James lives, we have solid ground. We just don't have, right now the dogs are crated in a designated area. So I guess what I'm saying is we're looking to build kennels. We have a property where James is, and so we've got every kind of thing kind of in line. Just the funding and the availability has been difficult.
Understood. Mike Golf, you got any other questions for Brittany?
Not for Brittany, but I think the easiest way for us to help out is and bring our assets to bear is everybody is listening. Everybody that is currently listening to this broadcast live or podcast later, click on the link to the SD Gunner Fund calendar and share it, please. Buy a calendar if you can. If you can't, the easiest way for you is just to share the hell out of the link. Get that out as far and wide as you possibly can. We need to help them out, sell $5,000 or 5,000 calendars, and get these dogs taken care of.
Yep. How about your fellow brothers and sisters, Nation, and the little ones that need it?
Yes.
That one's very, very near and dear to me. Help the little ones as well.
Brittany, thank you so much. And I had a blast doing the photo shoot.
Well, I'm so glad that
it was kind of cold in the toga.
Hey, but like I said, you had on more clothes than anybody else. So, for everyone, kind of listening, the calendar, if it is a hit, we are looking to do, another one next year to try to make this an annual thing. And, we love the creativity that came with it. I have genuinely figured out that most veterans do not mind getting naked and or barely clothed for a photo shoot. And I've never laughed so much in my entire life. We even had one guy roll up his beanie and stuff it, in his shorts. So I was literally dying. Oh. My husband was laying on the ground just rolling. But we were blessed. All of you guys that helped out were a hoot, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. And I thank you too for being there.
Absolutely. Wouldn't have it any other way.
All right. So, Nation, we are going to go to break, and we will come back for our third hour. But again, Brittany with SD Gunner Fund, thank you for being on our show. And Nation, get out there and either donate or go get a calendar. You heard it here. So make it happen, Nation.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
That was awesome.
nothing at all. And you can fight, you can hide that you're naked. If you bleed, you won't feel it, you won't see me at all. You can fight, you can hide that you're naked. If you bleed, you won't feel it, you won't see me at all. You can fight, you can hide that you're naked. How it is that a hero needs saving, how he needs that support to keep his roof from caving, holding tight on that 45 as a tear drops from his eye. Picturing his mom is all that's kept him alive, cause he's buried his friends and he's buried his thoughts. Suppress these demons inside until his stomach's in knots. I see you on your knees, so please let me give you help and a kiss to his girl. Each day he walks away from these things in his world, expected to be the rock, solid from bottom to top. He's so hard in the streets, but inside he feels so soft. He's dodged bullets and knives, stop men from beating wives. But boom, someone tries to take his gun and now he took a life. And all you do
This is WTF Nation Radio.
All right, Nation, and we are back for our third and final hour. And that was an awesome interview, Mike. Golf, what do you think?
That was great. I had a great time doing the photo shoot. She's very articulate. She believes very powerfully in what she's doing, and it was good.
Yeah, no, that's a great cause. Again, Nation, I want to reiterate to you, go to SD Gunner Fund's page, either on Facebook, their website, contact them, either donate monetarily, buy the calendar, or donate what they need. Okay, help them out. This is a great cause that they have, not only for our community of vets and active duty service members, but for kids that with disabilities and special needs. Right? If there's two things I firmly believe that should never suffer, and it's kids and dogs, and this answers that call to both.
I agree.
Hands down.
Yes.
So, with that, again, great interview. Brittany, if you're still listening, SD Gunner Fund, great cause. We hope to have you back on in the near future.
Absolutely. And if nothing else, if you can't do anything else, that's fine. Just share that link on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Grindr if you got it.
Grindr.
I don't judge,
Wow.
dude.
Wow. This was great, and then you went there. That's fantastic. Spencer William and Facebook Live, thank you. That's awesome. Right, get it out there.
Sure, tell all your friends.
Yeah, so we're in our last hour, and there's a couple of good stories I want to get out, but there's I guess not good stories, but they are of interest to the veteran community and active duty and what's going on in the world. The one I want to start with though is the 98-year-old World War II vet. Did I send you that link for that article?
I think you did.
Right. So.
Yes, you did.
Right. The Nation for this article. This article is off the Daily Beast. That's the only place I found it, but I think this speaks volumes on what's going on. So there is a 98-year-old veteran who is looking to be evicted. The article opens up, "This eviction will live in infamy." Right. The landlord is the Black Veterans for Social Justice, and on January 4th, they will be in Brooklyn Housing Court before Judge Marsha, I'm going to slaughter this, Skawatsi, trying to evict James Blackley, a 98-year-old Black U.S. Navy veteran of the December 7th, 1941 Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, unless he pays rental arrears of $24,130. Blakely lives with his second wife, Bonita, in a studio apartment on Bergen Street in Bedford. Oh, man. Stuyvesant, that he claims was given to him rent-free 6 years ago. Quote, "In December of 1941, I got bombed by the Japanese," says Blakely, wearing his USS St. Louis hat in his apartment. "This Christmas, I'm facing eviction by the Black Veterans for Social Justice. Boy, oh boy, what a difference 76 years makes. Jingle bells." I love the way this article is written.
That's a veteran sense of humor for you right there.
Yeah. This might all be because the Black Veterans for Social Justice has signed a memorandum of contract to sell the rent-stabilized building to a white Manhattan developer who specializes in snatching up inner-city property so the Bed-Stuy can have more gentrification, even at the expense of a Black American hero who served Pearl Harbor and who also served in combat aboard 3 different battleships in World War II and some of the fiercest battles in the Pacific Theater. Again, this article is the Daily Beast, and I don't like a lot of the way they attack some of these angles. Obviously, they are trying to generate clicks and headlines and all this other stuff with the way they're writing. But it goes a little bit further than that, and there's really a good point here. I'm trying to skip through a lot of articles because it goes back and forth about his service, and there's no denying that this vet served our great nation and was a part of the greatest nation that ever served. So what I want to establish, though, is what actually transpired to him being in the situation that he is right now. Right?
So he's got no running water.
Right.
He's got no hot water. He's bathing in a 5-gallon bucket.
Right. So there's all of a sudden this eviction notice. And talking with somebody else who sent me this article to find it, what landlord goes, let alone a couple months without trying to evict somebody, but years.
6 years.
6 years that he is apparently in arrears, and now they want to evict him based on 24,000 I said earlier in the thing.
Yeah, it's 6 years. It's what was it, $635 a month. So this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. If he doesn't have any running water.
And that's the other thing, is that there's no trying to fix it or anything like that. They're just kind of are they trying to wait him out to get him out so they can sell it?
It sounds like a slumlord deal to me.
Right. But the other part is apparently that there were some cahoots, that there are some forged documents that he signed a quote-unquote lease for the 1-year thing, and it says it looks nothing like his signature. Well, I'm not saying if I were a lawyer with a landlord lawyer, or any kind of lawyer in New York looking to make either one, make a name for myself, or two, to stick it to somebody, I'd be looking to take up this case pro bono just to get my name out there.
Oh yeah, definitely. So there's a couple of issues. I skimmed through the article earlier and again just now, but there's a couple of issues that I see. It's almost like a slumlord thing. They're failing to make necessary and required repairs by federal and state law. You're supposed to have running water.
Right.
You don't wait 6 years to evict somebody. That's absolutely ludicrous. At this point, he falls under squatters' rights,
Right. And that
if nothing else.
Bronco in the Facebook Live brought that up as well. He could be a squatter. He could at this point, but if there was never any legal documentation, if they had never actually laid that out in any type of legal framework whatsoever, then who's to say who's in the right at this point? Right. If they never actually laid it out in a legal document that said, "Hey, we're gonna allow you to live here rent free for X amount of months, X amount of years," then does he have them dead to rights as they try to evict him? And two, not even following up on what would be good order and conduct to make sure he has running water, electricity, and all those other things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So my question would be this, is that why all of a sudden after 6 years is this an issue?
Because it sounds like, and I think you're right. I think they're looking to sell the property to make some money, and this is probably the easiest way to get him out and make even more money. It's greed is basically what it boils down to.
I agree, and here
it's a greedy land grab.
Right, and here's what the whole kicker about this to me is, right? And I'm not okay. So he is Mr. Blackley is a black vet who was at Pearl Harbor, right? And he's being evicted by the Black Veterans for Social Justice.
I don't even know.
Wrap your head around that. Wrap your head around that, nation.
Colin Kaepernick, if you're listening, this is the cause you need to be kneeling for.
And that's what. And that, again, that just totally blows my mind. Is that a black veteran is being evicted by a black veterans social justice group?
So yeah, and it goes to show that special interest groups will turn on their own and eat their own if it serves the greater good of the group or the people in charge of the group.
I agree, and this is a prime example of it.
Yeah,
it totally blows my mind that this is happening. This shouldn't even be an issue. Period.
Shouldn't this organization be the one helping to raise money to pay the arrears?
Yeah, not only raise him money, but maybe finding him a new place to live.
Maybe.
I'm just saying.
Hey, how about this? You get the man some running fucking water and a water heater.
Yeah.
He's 98 years old, for God's sake, on a fixed income.
So the conversation I had with the individual who sent me this article was, this group that put him up in this place originally was like, well, maybe, he's a World War II vet. Maybe he won't live another 24 to 48 months or 24 to 46 months, right? And here it is, 6 years later, he's still kicking.
Crap, we need to evict him now.
So it's, it becomes one of those things where now they're in either they're in a financial bind or they're going to miss out on this opportunity to sell their property.
I would speculate. Going with your previous statement about them signing a long-term lease, thinking that he was going to have a short-term lifespan. It seems to me like I don't want to speculate, but God, I would think that this would be the type of organization that would sign a 2 or 3 year lease with a guy. Mm-hmm. And then he dies in the middle of the lease, and then they go after the family because he broke the lease.
Yeah. Well,
he died.
Yeah, and you know what? Again, I would not push that past anybody at this day and age for it to happen.
It sounds like some hinky shit that they would try.
Yeah, I agree with that point. But man, it just totally blows my mind that a World War II vet is looking at eviction in the middle of winter, right? Just after Christmas and just after the New Year, because one entity didn't follow through or do their due diligence on making sure that proper paperwork was signed to protect their investment, basically.
Right.
Right? That's a bad business deal if you're not looking out for yourself. And don't get me wrong, nation. We should take care of this generation as they start to dwindle in numbers and whatnot. But from a business standpoint, you should also be looking out for the business's interests as well.
Right.
So
sign a 2-year lease with a Pearl Harbor survivor and pray he doesn't make it to the end of the lease.
I got it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not Mr. Quarterman. He is in New York.
New York, yeah.
If you scroll up, somebody said how to pronounce it a lot easier than what I was trying to pronounce it in the Facebook Live comments. But it just blows my mind that this is an issue, right? If they are that worried about selling this property and they are that worried about their reputation as this social justice warrior movement or whatever they are, fucking move him. Find a new location to house this World War II vet. Obviously, you did it once before, and I got it. It might be his home, and and he doesn't want to move again. But make a business decision. In the long run, you would probably make up what you would lose, not only in revenue by moving him somewhere to sign him, like you were saying, a 2-year lease or whatever it is, to move him there, and then selling the property as a whole to this investor, than it would be to fight it and drag it out through the court system.
Yeah, just
because there's
house the man.
Yeah, because there's a good chance that if this goes to court like it is, and if they did forge documents and they bring in all, they start weighing in experts and all this other stuff, there's a good chance he's going to own them dead to rights.
And then he'll die 6 months later, and the family will get the
exactly
the inheritance.
Right.
Way to go, guys.
Yep. So at this point, just pay to move him and pay for a 2-year lease somewhere else. That would be my take on it. Take care of this greatest generation, because we are losing them at an exponential rate now.
Yes.
And that's all I've got on that story, unless you have something else to comment on it.
No, it absolutely baffles me, boggles the mind.
It does. Again.
That's along the same lines as the Disabled American Veterans, the DAV repossessing somebody's prosthetic leg because they didn't show up to an appointment or something.
And James Quarterman, Mr. Quarterman, in Facebook Live has a great point. Is the court's going to come back and ask, why 6 years? What took so long?
Because now we're broke and we need the money.
Yep, and they want to sell the building.
And we want to sell. Yeah.
Yep. Agreed, cause. I agreed. I'm not arguing that point whatsoever.
You can start with me, cause you can take care of me.
Yes. All right.
Greatest stepdad ever.
Greatest stepdad. All right. So rolling into, as we work, stay with the military theme here. You heard about the latest North Korean defector?
Yes.
Did you hear the most recent development in that defector?
Did they send him back?
No. Excuse me, my tenure McKellen is a little strong tonight. North Korean defector had anthrax antibodies in his system.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so here we go. The article begins, Nation, for you tracking. This is off of FoxNews.com. That's where I got this article. It is 6 hours old at this point.
I haven't seen this one yet.
Yeah, traces of anthrax antibodies were discovered in the system of a North Korean soldier who had defected to South Korea at some point in 2017. A local South Korean television station reported Tuesday. The soldier's name and exact date of defection were not disclosed, but the defector is said to have been exposed or vaccinated for anthrax, a serious bacterial disease, UPI reported, citing Channel A. The report came. They reportedly became immune to the disease before defection. Quote, anthrax antibodies have been found in the North Korean soldier who defected this year, according to unnamed South Korean officials speaking to Channel A. The news comes amid earlier reports that North Korea was beginning tests to mount anthrax onto its intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of reaching the U.S. All right, so we're going to pause right there and contemplate what that actually means.
Mm-hmm. It's scary, is what it is. So, one, they have anthrax vaccinations, which implies that they have the spores. The scariest part about that I can see is defectors in the future not being immune and being used as biological weapons.
Go on.
Because North Korea, I wouldn't put past North Korea to infect somebody and then let them cross the border.
Wow.
That's the scariest part to me, because then you get everybody on the DMZ sick,
right?
And then there's nobody to guard the border.
Right.
They launch a missile. There's your red flag, distraction.
Right. So here,
that's some scary shit, man.
That scenario that you just played out, that they just they infect somebody and let them stroll across the border.
It's scary.
That's an interesting scenario, Mike Golf.
Because it's South Korea's policy that anybody that makes it across the border is automatically granted citizenship in South Korea.
Really? So
yeah, you defect from North Korea, you're good.
That's that would change the game on not only the posture of the U.S., but now how we look at those defectors that are going to come across the border.
Right. So this one is immune. The next one, maybe not.
Maybe not, and it may be carrying the live virus.
And he may be doing it for, Supreme Leader Snoke. I mean, Kim Jong-un. Sorry, man. Had to throw a Star Wars reference in there.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, it's just, it's really interesting to think. The story continues. The tests were the tests were to determine if anthrax could handle the intense heat and pressure it would experience on an ICBM. That goes back to a quote. North Korea has started experiments such as heat and pressure equipment to prevent anthrax from dying even at high temperatures of over 7,000 degrees generated at the time of an ICBM's re-entry into the atmosphere. Report in Japanese newspaper Asahi. North Korea has started experiments. Continue. In part, there is unconfirmed information that has already succeeded in such experiments. Similarly, the White House released a report on December 18th saying that the rogue nation was pursuing chemical and biological weapons that could be delivered by missiles. Well, you start with nuclear and you expand from there, I do believe. Miniaturization and all that stuff all goes hand in hand. Kaz in the Facebook Live, quarantine them all. Kaz, they already are. They're in North Korea. I have to agree with the comment right below that, is that they're already quarantined. Again, what more sanctions can we impose on North Korea? There's not a lot we can do.
We've already cut them off. They're already quarantined. It's the most desolate, isolated country in the world, and we can't stop them from developing these weapons because they're getting backdoor support from China.
Backdooring what?
Yeah.
Just
phrasing.
So
they're getting backdoored by China. So there's not a whole lot you can do.
There's not. Again, cause clarified. Quarantine all the defectors.
From what I understand, they do. They quarantine them in a hospital. They run a bunch of tests. That's how we found out about the guy that ran across the border that was on video that got shot.
Yeah.
They found all those parasites in him.
What was it, like a 12-foot parasite? That's exaggerating it a little bit, but that
just all kinds of crazy infections and parasites that first world and even third world countries don't have to deal with anymore.
It blows my mind that that's what we could be facing if the balloon goes up over there, right? Now I was very lucky in my career. I never did time in Korea, and I know there's a lot of guys that did. And I'd throw it out to you. If you did time in Korea, had you ever thought that this could be something you were facing? Throw your comment in Facebook Live.
Yes.
Or the mixer.
I did 6 weeks in Korea, full Eagle 98, where we did RSO and I from Fort Lewis to reintegrate with the rest of the division in Korea. We actually we were in a field somewhere, I think it was Santa Barbara training area, and the 2nd Infantry Division CG came out and was standing there and addressed us all. You know, his sister brigade from the States came over to integrate. And he was telling us, you know, where we're standing, we're within artillery range of North Korea. If they decide that they're going to get froggy and they decide to jump, it's going to be a huge counter battery firefight. Just artillery flying back and forth. We're going to destroy a whole lot of shit. A whole lot of people are going to die. But it's not going to be direct fighting. So at this point, if they've got anthrax immunizations going on, they could be lobbing anthrax and artillery shells across the border too.
Right, because
anthrax is scary. That's a scary thing.
We were facing that going in Iraq, right?
Yeah.
Everybody got that vaccination.
Yeah, so did I.
And again, it is scary. And you think about what you just said, the artillery barrage. And I'll go back and forth before there's direct fighting. Again, you're right. What's coming in those shells?
It's going to end up being scorched earth. It's North Korea is going to do scorched earth warfare. It's either we're going to burn South Korea to the ground, or we're going to capture what we need to continue the fight, and that's one or the other.
And so here's my question: as the nation and as we prepare for this, and this becomes an issue, not only from a standpoint from national security and everything else we're facing, but could it be? Is that something we're going to be ready for? One, and two, what are the ramifications if we wait too long to try and interdict or intervene before that happens?
I think it's absolutely a threat. It's without a doubt the most unstable place on the planet right now that we're potentially involved in. The logistics nightmare that will occur if we wait too long is dependence and allowing North Korea the time to gain steam and momentum in developing these weapons projects. Right. The longer we wait, and like you said, there's really, sanctions wise, there's nothing more we can do to this country.
There's not, and I truly believe that. And again, it goes back. I know I've brought this up with Minx many times on our show. Whether it's first strike or retaliatory, we're going to be in the wrong.
I would not wait for retaliatory. Like I said, it's the longer you wait, and the longer you give them to prepare. And I think that it boils down to first strike.
I understand, but again, it goes back to, I guess from my standpoint, it becomes, when you look at it, what is the administration willing to absorb? Does that make sense? Because that's really what it comes down to. right?
Well, Trump's already the Antichrist. Fuck it, send Tomahawk cruise missiles in there.
And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, does that actually weigh into the decision to either be first strike or retaliatory? Again, and I've said it many times, it does not matter which it is, he will be in the wrong. This administration will be in the wrong no matter which decision is made, whether it be retaliatory or first strike.
Yeah, Donald he brings up a good point. We get to deal with China in the aftermath as well. So first strike, it's full on force with a 1,000,000-man army.
Right. So for Donald Brewer's point in that Facebook Live, I see it to a point. Like if North Korea got froggy, and we start to push across the DMZ, right? We roll across 38th parallel. We're bringing the rock. We're actually with the rock at that point because they're probably blazing the trail.
Yep.
I don't see China actually coming across the border per se. I see them looking to secure the border with North Korea to keep us from advancing any further. I truly see us actually, as we get to that point where we are approaching the North Korea China border, that North Korea will let us know that, hey, we've got this. Please don't advance further than X point. We will handle everything north of that. Does that make sense?
I think it does. China would mass its troops on the Chinese North Korean border and say, okay, here we are. If you come any further than this, you got to deal with us.
Yep.
But handle your business. I think it starts with foreign policy and foreign diplomats sitting down with China and kind of hashing out a deal. Look, the entire world is sick of this kid's shit. He needs to be smacked. He needs to be spanked. We just need to end North Korea.
I see that exactly. I see it being just like that. Like there will be many backroom. I hate to say it that way. There will be a lot of backroom deals. The way that happens, and it'll all come out in the wash if the balloon goes up and if we go across the DMZ.
Yeah, it's like Kaz was saying. China's getting sick of North Korea shit. Everybody in the world is looking at North Korea, going, "What are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Have you not had enough?"
Again, there's not. What else can we do? Nothing.
We can't do anything. Make a deal with China, send in Tomahawks, cut the head off the snake, and reintegrate North Korea with South.
Well, you say that, but that's not as easy as you would think. Because
I know it didn't work in Iraq. Yeah.
No, it's not that. It's that. Can you convince South Korea to absorb that monetary commitment to reintegrate with the North? Because let's face it, that infrastructure is going to take a lot of money to fix and to integrate them.
Yeah. So we pull out of Iraq and Afghanistan, cut our losses, and then sink our economic altruistic views into North Korea.
I look at it this way. I mean, China and South Korea probably would love to open up that trading pipeline.
Yeah, China would be all about it. Hey, yeah.
I'm just saying, you cut a deal with China. They invest half. They invest half for the infrastructure, and one of the emerging GDPs on the global scale becomes that much more readily available to the rest of the world.
Bro, can you imagine the discounts we'd get on Daewoo's?
You get a Daewoo.
You get a Daewoo.
Everybody gets a Daewoo.
Everybody get Daewoo.
I rap out loud.
You rock a Daewoo discipline.
You rock discipline.
God.
Oh my God. I'm going to hell.
The hottest new import in the United States.
The Daewoo.
The North Korean Chinese-built Daewoo.
The Daewoo. They make some pretty good forklifts. I'm just saying.
Their microwaves are pretty awesome too.
Yeah. All right.
Daewoo is like the IKEA of Korea.
That's awesome.
I'm telling you, dude, I'm gonna make you spit that drink before the night's over.
Oh no, I'm good. I've got good drink control.
The Daewoo Luganza.
All right. So to transition.
Anyway.
To transition gears here. The next story I got here, and this will probably close us out. 3 U.S. cities sue the Pentagon over failure to report convictions. Have you seen this story?
I agree, and I support that decision.
Really? You support suing the Pentagon?
Absolutely. S1, do your damn job.
How is it on S1? Hold on. Hold on.
All right.
How is it on S? First, before we even get into the article, how is it on S1?
Okay, G1.
How is it on the one? How is it on personnel?
It's their job.
No.
Losing an RCOM is one thing, but misfiling a domestic violence conviction.
That's on the JAG Corps. That's the JAG Corps' responsibility to file that shit. Not the S1.
They got an S1 and a G1 that does all the paperwork. That's what the paralegals are for.
Well, you would think that, but apparently it's not working correctly.
I just look. Yeah, paperwork lives matter, cause. It's
right.
For me, being combat arms, paperwork. Period. Just I generalize under S1, G1, right?
Right.
Yeah, I agree. It's probably under the JAG Corps and probably some with the provost marshal as well. And moving up to like DOD level provost marshals,
right,
and JAGs. But come on, losing paperwork, we shouldn't be doing it. Period.
No, and I agree with that.
You lose an AAM, you lose an NCOER, you lose domestic violence charges. You lose, this is why at the lowest level we can't chapter kids out of the Army that need to be chaptered out. This is why kids don't get Article 15s, because the paperwork's not right. This is why soldiers don't get their PCS and retirement awards, is because paperwork gets lost. Lead forms get shredded. If paperwork is your job, do your fucking job. My job as armor in the Army dictated that I spent a majority of my time in a motor pool maintaining my equipment. That's what I did.
Right.
Do your job. So if these states are going to sue the Department of Defense for failing to file domestic violence convictions, yeah, do it. And I support you 100%. Maybe somebody will get smacked around, somebody will get fired, and somebody competent enough to do the fucking job will be put into place. Because of the fact that the Vegas shooter didn't have domestic violence charges filed at the DOD and federal level, allowing him to purchase firearms is absolutely ludicrous. It's stupid. It's uncalled for. You're getting me all riled up.
I'm not trying to get you all riled up.
But these if there was an S1 or G1 or JAG or Provost Marshal, whoever it was, all they had to do was hit send on a fucking email, and all those people in Las Vegas would still be alive. It's that simple. Maybe not that simple. It's oversimplified, but that's the point.
Right. No, and I agree with your point, Mike Golf. I'm not arguing your point whatsoever. And yes, I do believe that somebody should be held accountable for that not happening.
And in reality, a state suing the Department of Defense isn't going to go anywhere. It's not going to do anything but set a precedent. That is the biggest thing.
And so here's my take on that. Right. So they're trying to bring this lawsuit, and we probably know that again the case is City of New York versus Department of Defense. Well, that's probably going to get crushed in a heartbeat. But what it does is it highlights the issue, like you said. It highlights that there is an issue with communication. And that's probably the DOD's biggest flaw, bar none, is communication not only within the DOD itself.
It's the federal government as a whole.
The federal government, bingo. The federal government as a whole communicating up and down, left and right, out of those quote unquote stovepipes that it is operated in for so long. Why does it take something like Vegas or some other issue where?
But this is old hat. This is not a new concept. It's a much bigger concept. It's larger agencies at play. Interagency communication has always been an issue. The CIA doesn't talk to the FBI, doesn't talk to DOD, doesn't talk to the executive branch, right?
And look what came out of that after the 9/11 Commission. There was a whole commission that it took, unfortunately, all those millions of dollars wasted to discover that, agencies weren't talking to each other. Well, no shit.
The fire department can't talk to the police department because they operate with different equipment on different frequencies.
It wasn't even that. It's for fuck's sake. We can't talk to them because of XYZ protocol. Fuck that. That's
and then we saw it again with
Katrina
and Rita.
There's no communication. I'm sorry. If lives are at stake, if people need to know shit to get the hell out of the way, or we've got to save somebody, fucking pass the information. This fucking stovepipe bullshit is bad.
Yep.
Right? And I go back to the 9/11 Commission and all this other garbage that hemmed us up on sharing information. They don't need this and they don't need that because of whatever XYZ protocols. Bullshit. Share the damn information if it's going to save lives. Well, we don't know if it'd save lives. Well, fuck, if there's a possibility, you better fucking share it. End of story. Because
period.
Saving the lives is more important than anything. Well, what if we compromise whatever? Well, fuck you. Fuck that garbage. You gotta save you gotta share the information. You gotta communicate up, down, left, and right. If you want to truly make your mission matter, you gotta communicate up, down, left, and right.
Well, he beat his wife in the army, but we discharged him, so.
Yeah, and what was it? Fucking general discharge or whatever?
Yeah. General or honorable conditions or.
And that's the other thing. Unless it's a big chicken dinner or dishonorable discharge, that shit ain't gonna flag for nothing.
Nope.
It won't. It won't trigger any of the flags that are supposed to be triggered when you submit that the SF form for the background check. It just won't. So, share the fucking information. Get off your high horse. And that's the other, and I'll get on this fucking soapbox real quick. That's the other big thing about fucking commanders that always drove me nuts.
That's my lane. Yeah.
Props off to NCOs and first sergeant sergeant majors, right? Passing it up and down the NCO support channel, making sure Joes know what the fuck is going on if they could let them know. Commanders want to hold on to that fucking information like it's this goddamn nugget that's going to be the end-all, be-all to get them their next promotion, their next OER, top block, whatever the fuck it is. Fuck that. Share the goddamn information with your Joes. Let them know what the hell's going on. Because an informed Joe's going to fight for you.
Do your job. Communicate effectively and as necessary. And I saw it even at my level, being a master gunner on tanks. Other master gunners, well, I'm a master gunner. Yeah, you got all this information. But you're fucking worthless to the force if you're not passing it on. That's your job.
Well, that's the other thing.
Talk to people, train people. Your job as a leader, your job as an agency representing this government and fighting for the people is to communicate, share information. Information is the new currency.
Right, and you hit it right there, right? Pass that information. The other pet peeve of mine, fucking single points of failure. There should never be any fucking agency in the government that one individual can fucking bring down the entire operation or whatever's going on. Fucking
Or the
Singapore
agency fails because that person isn't there anymore.
commanders are the worst. Because if you don't pass that fucking information and you pass or you get killed in combat and that information isn't with your first sergeant, your platoon leaders, or whoever else needs it, it dies with you and the mission can't continue on. So fuck you for hoarding the damn information. Share it, make it knowledgeable, and you're going to be successful at your mission. Your Joes and your NCOs will ensure that. So fuck you for wanting to hold on to it.
They're too narrow-minded and self-centered and accolade greed. They want all the attaboys and the pats on the backs themselves. Look at the CIA didn't talk to the FBI, and we did all this ourselves. And blah, blah, blah. We knew about this ahead of time. Well, fuck, you didn't tell anybody.
And I'll end with this.
So all these people died, and you're sitting here trying to pat yourself on the back. Well, we knew about it, and we've been tracking this guy for months, but you didn't fucking tell anybody.
Bingo.
And now he's killed people in Boston. Yep. Or he's rented a truck and drove through a crowd.
Yep.
Or he's holed up on the 32nd floor of a hotel in Las Vegas. Well, good on you. You're tracking the guy. You knew he was a bad dude.
And what you
didn't fucking tell anybody.
Fucking nothing. Because you didn't share the damn information with those that fucking needed it.
Oh, but we identified him and we had it flagged and blah, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up.
Fucking too late
People
now.
died. People died and you're trying to pat yourself on the back. Jackasses. Share. Talk to each other.
Share that information, nation.
DOD, file your fucking paperwork. I don't care how mundane it is. It should be required. It should be absolutely required. I don't care.
It should be.
If it's you or me and we serve 20 plus years honorably and we retire, our service records go to the FBI.
Nope.
He didn't do anything wrong. He earned a Purple Heart. He earned a Bronze Star. He's got a Meritorious Service Medal and a Legion of Merit. And this guy actually has a Medal of Honor. There's a fucking novel idea. This guy was accused of this guy was convicted of domestic violence and kicked out. Okay, well, he falls under the Lautenberg Amendment. Well, this guy's got a Medal of Honor.
Tough shit. Lautenberg Amendment. Motherfucker.
Good on
this
him.
Is going to be a chaplain. You're fucking done. James Quarterman. No, that is my Scotch collection behind me. Thank you for changing the subject. I get it. So I'll end it on this. Information is paramount to our mission. Information needs to be shared. End of story.
And like Spanky said, information is free. Share it.
Yep. And with that, time for some house cleaning or housekeeping. Nation, yeah. Oh, it's been good. Nation, as you know, we currently have shows 6 nights a week. We'll start with tonight. It's Tied Up Tuesdays with myself, Grey Cloud, and usually my co-host Minx. However, she was out saving the world, doing great medical things for other individuals. So I have I have Mike Golf on with me from Sergeant's Time on Thursdays.
Hello.
Wednesdays is our current break night. There is no show at that time. Thursdays is Sergeant's Time with Ice, Mike Golf, my current co-host, Doc Madness, and they talk all things military and what is currently affecting the warfighter at this time. Then we roll into Friday, which is Minx and Pookie, and that's Friday Night Freedom. And they are usually talking current events. Last weekend got a little crazy, I heard. Just tune in for Friday Night Freedom. It gets pretty awesome. And then Saturday, it's Saturday Night Savagery with Jay Reddy and Pookie. And that show, you have to tune in for to experience. It is just, that's all I can say about Saturday Night Savagery. And then we roll into Sunday with the Green Room. And that's Jason and Charlie and Kaz hosting that. and they talk all things 420 friendly and how it affects not only the veteran community, but how it will start to affect the, the active duty community as well. They're a great resource for those individuals who are looking at that type of medicinal lifestyle. And then Monday is the Monday edition with ICE. Again, rolling back into current events and all things military. And then it rolls back into us on Tuesday with Tied Up Tuesdays with myself and Minx. And then we have Jose's Taco Truck hosted by KJ on Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon. And then for our guests this week, we really only have one, and that's coming up on 4th January, which is Sergeant's Time. And that's Brett Mangle from the Sparta Project. No two veterans or first responders face the same exact issues, but as peers, the Sparta Project knows how to help. They guide, inspire, and heal veterans and first responders who suffer from PTS. They are dedicated to healing the invisible wounds of war and service. So tune in for Brett Mango on Sergeant's Time on 4 January, Nation. And with that, it was a great show. Mike Golf, I want to thank you for being on with me tonight. It was fantastic. It was a great 3 hours.
Went by pretty fast. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on.
Again, I appreciate it very, very much. And just to reiterate, Nation, get out there, get over SD Gunner Fund, donate, buy a calendar, buy them some gear that they need for their pooches and whatnot, and to help them get out there. And
Share the hell out of the calendar link.
Yes, share the hell out of the calendar link. And with that, Nation, I will bid you adieu. And shots.
Shots.
Share the hell out of the calendar link. And with that, Nation, I will bid you adieu. And shots.
Shots. Shots.
time that I'm there. I don't know why they think that I'm different from you. All that's true is I'm a like you breathe, I breathe, and like you see, I see, and like you need, I need, and like you bleed, I bleed. Don't treat me like an object, I'm tested and proven. Mind, heart, and soul, I'll always be a human. Like you breathe, I breathe, and like you see, I see, and like you need, I need, and like you bleed, I bleed. Don't treat me like an object, I'm tested and proven. Mind, heart, and soul, I'll always be a human. Like you breathe, I breathe, and like you see, I see, and like you need, I need, and like you bleed, I bleed. Don't treat me like an object, I'm tested and proven. Mind, heart, and soul, I'll always be a human. Like you breathe, I breathe, and like you see, I see, and like you need, I need, and like you bleed, I bleed. Don't treat me like an object, I'm tested and proven. Mind, heart, and soul, I'll always be a human.